relevant because they were engaged on the thing at the time. And I was building this group to bring in technology. And ultimately, we brought in the technology, but what we found was there was difficulty engaging it in production because they already had their ways of working. So we were developing this stuff, but we couldn't get engaged. So fast forward, at Pixar, we were trying to come up with the next generation of software. And I put together a group to build it. And what I found after a year was that this group to do new things, unlike Island, was not perceived to be an irrelevant group. They were conceived of as being a source of smart people they could steal to help work on their films. So after a year, I found the entire group had been subverted towards working on the movie. So I thought, okay, I hadn't actually protected them. So I set it up again to put in some protection around it. A year later, the same damn thing happened again. So the third time, I put in these really strong barriers to protect them. Then we had somebody in we brought in from TiVo over software. And now it came time to engage in using it on a movie. And he did not want to engage. He wanted to keep us in a place where we kept making the software to be perfect. He couldn't figure out how to engage. So that's why I got this model in my head. You've got one end where you're engaged with the world, your business is dependent upon that, you must do that. And other times you've got things that you must protect. I was protected by George Lucas. I initially failed to protect that one group. I finally figured out how to protect them. They then put walls around themselves to protect themselves, and so I had to break down the wall to have them engage. So there's this balance between them. And there's times when you're one end on the other, and sometimes you have to figure out how to go back and forth between the two. So the question is, where is the balance point? And again, there is no fuzzy point from it. It's just a difficult thing to try to figure out. There's a tug of war that goes on. And there's a tug of war between different groups. So like in our case, we've got the director wants the best thing in the film, and the artist wants the best look. And technically we want to make sure we can make it, and the budget people want it kept in budget. The technology people want certain things, and marketing wants to make sure they can sell the movie. So you got all these people pulling in different directions. The problem happens is if any one of those groups wins, then we lose. When I looked at Disney when they went downhill, or when I looked at some of those companies, somebody won inside that company. Marketing or something like that won. And they didn't maintain the balance. So this is the hard part, is we talk about balance and stability, and people usually confuse the two, because balance and stability are considered to be good things. But they're not the same thing. If I stand here, most people would say that I'm stable and balanced. I'm not. I'm unstable and unbalanced. If I fell asleep, I would fall over because I'm not stable. The world is an unstable place. Most people want to go to be in a stable place. That is, are these forces that are pushing. They want to be stable. Well, it's not. We have to understand and appreciate that we want to be in an unstable place, and in that unstable place, then we should be balanced. And balancing is a difficult, hard thing. There are no simple things. It is one of self-assessment and engagement and honesty. And so while the Pixar is known for its creative acts of films, I believe that a great creative act is one of creating a culture and creating a company. Thank you very much.
Well, we have some questions. Doctor, this is from a student. During your career, did you ever have any doubts? Did you doubt yourself? Did you get back to your goal, and if so, how did you do that? How did you overcome those fears, if you had?
Well, I remember as a high school student, the one thing I did feel was I wanted to be best in the world at something. And I felt good about that as a goal. I mean, it's very non-specific, but it meant I felt like I needed to, as an individual, do something really well. By the time I got to college, I wanted to use technology to make the first animated film. And that drove me forward for 20 years, until Toy Story came out. Well, there were times when it was really hard, like I didn't know we could do it. So the answer is yeah, there were doubts that were there. And things could have gone a different way too. I don't discount luck, and I appreciate the random things that happen along the way. So it's a combination of events that happen and just being a little stubborn about certain things.
What do the struggles of a company like Blockbuster say about the movie industry as a whole?
Well, this is just an example of change that's happening. It's not that anybody is wanting it, or like the movie industry clearly doesn't want the changes. The record industry went through and basically collapsed. We have a bigger time and different set of issues in the movie industry. But the result of digital distribution, massive amounts of entertainment, different kinds of things are affecting the industry. And it's all the more important for my industry to be heavily engaged with technical people as part of the process. I will say that through most of motion picture, with the exception of our group, they view technology as something on the outside. And so the technical quality within the studio was pretty low, which meant they got their pockets picked by the hardware companies. And it's because of an inane view of technology. We live in a technological society. It's part of what we should do. And again, it's part of this notion that like somebody wins. Our company focuses on this. Talking about BS arguments, companies going to their main step. Well, that kind of thinking keeps getting companies in trouble. You actually need breadth, and you want technology to be built into whatever you do.
What's the next logical step after 3D for the movie industry?
Well, there are some argue that 3D still isn't even a logical step. The issues for us, fundamentally, the way we communicate to each other as humans is through stories at all levels, whether it's our family stories, our newspapers, our television. It's a way of communicating. A lot of the communication is done poorly, a lot of it's done well. And our job is to make stories that touch people and mean something. And while we use the technology in doing that, it's not our driving force. It's the thing that we use to keep things changing. Walt Disney used technology at the early days of the film industry, and then technology sort of faded out of the industry. With computers, we brought it back in, but one of the reasons we changed the technology is to just keep ourselves in an off balance. Like we keep throwing something at it. We don't have to write our next generation software, but we're doing it because we want to be in a state where we have to keep reacting. And for me, that's what it is. It isn't like I'm looking out here. I'm very poor at projecting the future. I've never done it. I believe in making the future, but predicting it, I haven't found very productive.
Last question. What's your impression or comments about the Michigan Film Tax Incentive Program? What do you see for its future in Michigan?
Well, the issue with, this is true with all the states, and obviously we've heard about it and talked about it, and that is most of the companies don't trust the states to keep it in place. And that is the primary problem. So the incentives are good, and they may go out and use it in a case-by-case basis, but in order for it to work, there needs to be long-term commitment, and to be able to say to the studios that this will be here for a long period of time. And if they commit to that, then I think that you can bring people out.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that after this afternoon, since we can't root for the Tigers, we'll be rooting for the Giants. And we want to thank Dr. Catmull for coming here today. Please join me in rounding.